And I'm back like I've never left. Welcome everybody to part 3 of my walkthrough guide to R.E.P.O for beginners. I'm starting in the truck here before we go to level 6, so you all can see the upgrades that I'm working with, the weapons I'm working with, my energy crystals that I have lined up in the charger. I also wanted to mention something about the moon phases that I misspoke on in the last video. The crescent moon is what we're at now. That starts at level 5. And then the half moon is what will change once we get to level 10. I think I had mentioned that you start the game in the crescent moon, but that's not true. When you start out, there's like no changes until you get to level 5. And what's in that screenshot is what the changes are. Now, at any time in the game, you can hit your key that you would hit to see like the main menu or to exit the game. And there is a tab on there for active moons that will show you where you're at and what the changes are and how it applies to your game. I just wanted to put that screenshot up there real quick to fix my mistake and to show you guys what that means. Also, one more thing that I've decided to do differently is going into this series, I posted videos with like playing through multiple levels in one video. But I think that's just taking too long. If I was watching those videos, I would want to sit through like an hour or more. So I'm going to break down the parts one level per video and hopefully keep my gameplay moving to where I can get through the videos in 25 to 35 minutes, at least until we get to the levels that have like 5 extraction points. And then I might edit them shorter, but we'll see how that goes. A few bullet points that I want to make sure to cover in this video. Number 1 are things to specifically look out for in this map. Like those lasers, for example, that I just moved this baby head around. All over this museum map, you'll come across security lasers that are in some rooms. And they don't do a ton of damage to you. They only do a little bit. But they can knock you way back, and they can stun your character, which can make you really vulnerable if there are monsters nearby, or if you're in the middle of a fight and you hit one of those things. Also, if an item hits those lasers, it will damage them and knock them out of your grasp. On the bright side, you can use them to your advantage when you're fighting monsters. If you knock them back or use your grabber to throw them into the laser, that is a thing you can do to your advantage with those lasers. Also in this map, and you'll see more and more of them as the game goes on, there are some pits and holes and floors to look out for. Just when you're going into rooms for the first times, take your time, familiarize yourself with where the pits are. That way when things get hectic, you give yourself a much better chance of not falling into the holes and ending your game. I've learned that the hard way for sure. We've got a peeper on the ceiling there. Quick tip, you'll see I'm carrying a duct tape grenade. I don't always carry a grenade directly in my inventory, but I always like to keep some, at the very least, in my cart. Of course, I use them as weapons, but if you're ever in a pinch and a peeper has you stunned and you have a grenade in your inventory, you can hold that grenade out and block his line of sight, and it won't do any damage to you, and you can just wait for him to shut his eye and go on about your business. Now here is a hole in the floor, exactly like I was talking about. Didn't work out for the clown, but we definitely used it to our advantage. And again with the moon phases, until we get to level 10, the pits still one-shot all the monsters. So that can definitely work in your favor. Also with the peeper, it's not just the grenade that you can hold up to block his field of vision. Like the frying pan works too if you hold it right. And any item that's like not really small, you can hold up. And as long as you can get that item between yourself and the peeper's line of sight to you, you can prevent yourself from getting like stuck in his gaze, I guess. Another thing that I feel like is important to mention on the museum map And this is a bug in the game, like 100%. It's not meant to be there. But there are a couple of specific staircases and specific room layouts that have glitches in them, and they've been in the game for a while. And what can happen is when you're pushing your cart up or down these specific staircases, not all the stairs, there are spots in the staircase that for some reason your cart will stick to. And what I mean by that is I've had situations where I've had a cart like full of orbs from killing monsters. I mean like 7 or 8 orbs. And I'm pushing my cart down some stairs thinking I'm totally chilling. And it hits the sticky point in the stairs and literally all the orbs jumped out of my cart and broke on the floor. So hopefully the devs are aware of that and they fix it soon. It's been in the game for, I don't know, a couple months. But there are easy ways around it once you know the specific staircases and what to look for. And I'll show you that when we get to those areas. Another cool thing about the museum, in this particular room layout, this like circular hallway that I'm in, there's kind of a little map secret that you can get up into this ceiling area. And you'll see there's this blue cosmetics box, but there can be like huge items up here. Like the biggest items. I mean, sometimes there's small ones, sometimes there's none at all. But that's just a cool thing to know. Because this room layout can appear on the museum map from the very first level. And again, you just kind of sprint and jump. Yeah, it's easier said than done. Sprint, jump, make sure you hold jump. Yeah. Fourth time's a charm. Also, once you get extra jump upgrades going, you don't have to worry about navigating those shelves like that. But until you do, that's how you get up there. Okay, so we already know where the second extract point is. It's good to know. Oh, see, this hallway on either side are pits. So be careful there. If, you know, you come across any monsters in there. But also know that you can throw those monsters down in that pit too. A couple of obvious things that go along with getting to level 6. For starters, it's the first level that has 4 extraction points instead of 3. So just prepare yourself for a bigger map. It will take some more time. And there will be more monsters on every level. There will be more monsters than the last level. So just kind of get yourself ready for knowing you'll have to fight more monsters. There will be bigger monsters. This monster is called the Gambit. Now, I'm not really going to hang out with him. But what he will do, if he will run up on you, get super close, and his whole head will turn into like, it looks like a roulette wheel. And it's not always bad. Like, the wheel will spin and randomly stop on a colored area. And depending on what color it is, he might take some of your HP. He might take you all the way down to 1 HP. He might give you HP. Or he might even drop you a sack of money. It's all random. But that's what that monster does if you let him. He doesn't do a set amount of damage every time. It's a gamble. Alright, I see R.E.P.O in here. And for anybody unfamiliar with, like, the lore of my channel, this is R.E.P. I call him Roberto. Oh, that's not cool. I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but those gnomes, they love to run up on your cart and hit whatever you got in there with a hammer and take value off of it, and eventually destroy it if you give them time. Alright, now you see how I've just baited Roberto into running into that mine? when he sees you, when you look directly at him, that's when he like activates and moves fast. Other than that, if you have your back to him, he will follow you, but he moves slowly if you're not looking at him. So that's a pretty good thing to remember. You can use that change in his speed to your advantage and set him up and bait him into traps just like that. Now this is well, that happens sometimes. I'm not sure why that happens, but a small amount of the time, like, you'll be holding it up and blocking his view and he's not doing any damage, but it'll make you drop it. But anyway, you saw how when I held that up, I didn't move my vision at all, and I still didn't take any damage. And that's because I placed something between me and his line of sight. Alright, so like I spoke on in my previous videos, after we get the money back from the first extraction point, we don't clear the second extraction, we leave the second money bag there and come back to it last. Also, now we know that the third extraction point is very close to the second. So once we clear the fourth extraction point, this is going to be a really fast exit. Sometimes these rooms can get very spread out, and it can take a little while longer. Sometimes quite a while longer. Sometimes there might be several rooms that aren't very close to each other that have very large items, so you have to make several trips to get the large items to the extraction points, and that can really make the clearing a level take longer than you would like it to. Careful when moving that weird boom box. Your movement is limited when you're holding it. You'll see how I'm moving through these upper, like, rafter areas. It can be kind of weird if you don't know the layout, but I would recommend just, pay attention. That way you know what the setup is and how to move through it more easily than if you don't. Okay, I'm trying to just get a feel for the rest of the layout. Get these last few items from up here. And the biggest items in the game, they can be up here sometimes too. One of my very first videos from playing R.E.P.O on YouTube was when I very first started playing this game, and the big graffiti horse was up here, and it took me like 5 minutes just to get that horse down. So that was fun. It maybe took longer than 5 minutes. It took a long time. Alright, we know the gnomes are here. Get rid of them. Again, that's one of those examples of the sound cues. Sometimes just having just half a second of hearing that sound can allow you to react fast enough to keep yourself out of trouble. Yeah, not too careful with those. I'm not really too concerned. That's not a lot of value. I'm greedy, but not for the pennies. You know what I mean? If I knock off like a little bit of value here and there, I don't worry about it. Okay, I got this statue, and I see that there's something on the very top of that thing to my right there. We'll come back and check that out. Another thing that I feel is kind of important to know when you start getting into these levels with like 4 and 5 extraction points. Okay, I mentioned before that there's a set amount of monsters on each level, right? And the monsters respawn after you kill them. But that after, you can only get 3 orbs from each monster, right? But they will keep coming back. Now, one thing to keep in mind, and I think I mentioned this also, is the longer that the level goes on, and the more times that the same monster respawns, the faster they will respawn after they're killed the next time. So what I'm getting at with this is to kind of be aware of your time management on these levels with more extraction points, and also that take longer to just play through because they're bigger. Because the longer it takes you to clear the level, the faster these monsters will come back every time you kill them. So it can get really hectic at the end of a level that you've taken like 40 minutes to play, which can happen pretty easily. 40 minutes to play, you've been fighting monsters, and then by the time you get to the end of it, these monsters are like all over the place in the same room at the same time, and if you're not pretty skilled at what you're doing yet, and if you don't have a good inventory of weapons and items, that can get really, really tricky. Okay, so this is a pretty good item to have. This thing can be worth like sometimes over 20k. You see I've got the feather drone. Being careful, making sure I hit the cart with it first so it doesn't take any damage. Without the feather drone, this thing is pretty heavy. I don't have a ton of strength upgrades, so... Now what I'm doing here is laying it on the floor, taking the feather drone off, so that I can stand it upright. With the feather drone on it, you don't get the same leverage to stand it up with because it doesn't have as much gravity, so that's why I took the feather drone off before I stood it up. You'll see on the top right, the extraction quota is only 12.5k. That's not very much. So we're going to try to max out, everything we can. I would like to see... I'll get back to that in a second. These guys aren't really a threat. I'll tell you a quick thing about fighting the clown. You saw when he shoots that laser? That's another way that you can deal with the peeper right there. If you know where he's at, you can take the offense if you have strong weapons. But about fighting the clown, you see he shoots that laser out of his nose. You know the timing and the visual cues and sound cues. Once he starts shooting it, he will shoot. He basically aims for your head, right? So if you're crouched, he will shoot low. If you're standing up, he will shoot high. And that's good to know because once you hear the sounds play out like he's shooting the laser, it's easy to crouch down and have him shoot over your head. It's really easy to do. You can also jump over it if he's aiming low. But if he hits you with it, it's 100 HP damage just from the laser. And then if it knocks you back, you can really easily take even more damage if you hit a wall from the clown also has an attack he does where if you get really close to him, he will kick you with this big clown shoe. And that does, I think, 60 damage, plus you can take impact damage from hitting a wall. But again, if you know the timing of that it's even easy to dodge that kick too. But just be careful not to get too close if you don't know how to dodge it. Because if you try to run up on him with like a baseball bat or something like that and get really close to him, if he gets you first, it's gonna hurt. Alright, so this is the last extraction point on the map. So we know we're going to clear this one out and go back to where we just stacked all this stuff up. This has turned out so far to be a pretty low impact map, but it's only level 6. So. Oh, well, I guess I do have a couple more areas to check out, but, whatever we find, we're going to take it back to that extraction point that we just opened it up. That area where I just saw that item across the way, I'm not going to mess with it But if I had an extra jump or upgrade or two, that's a place I would use it. I would jump across that pit, grab the item, and bring it back across by jumping with it. That's one of those rooms where deeper into the game, when you have extra jump upgrades and range upgrades, that's when they're really useful. Now this is one of the staircases I was talking about. You see how it stuttered just a tiny bit on the way down? That can really mess up your cart going up and down that specific staircase sometimes. And it doesn't do it all the time, but sometimes. A way that you can 100% even avoid the possibility of that happening is when you're coming down the staircase. Now that I think about it, on that staircase, I don't think it does stick when you go up it, only down it. But anyway, a way to avoid it even possibly happening is just get to the top, and instead of holding the handle on the cart all the way down, just push it over the top step and let gravity just take it the rest of the way down. And then grab the handle again when you get to the bottom. And that will prevent the possibility of the bug even happening. I wish someone had told me that. Again, this is one of the staircases from this area right here. Now, in this gameplay, I'm not even worried about letting go because you see I don't even have hardly anything in the cart. But I did want to let you guys know that. Alright, I see the gambit up here. Also, for not being... Uh-oh, there's Roberto again. That's okay, we got him. Now I'm going to use my grabber so that I save charges on my weapons. Not really going to mess around with him too much. Use the gnome as a weapon. The Gambit is a tier 2 monster, so he's not like huge like Rogue or Clown or Trud, but he's very heavy to try to move around physically. So I don't think you can even grab him and move him until you get like, I don't know, 7 or 8 strength upgrades. So keep that in mind. Got boombox up here, one more level up here. Again, be careful of those lasers, but you can, I mean, you saw the move where I sprint slide, you go right under it. Another little thing you can do, and this really doesn't have anything to the gameplay, but if you just want to have fun playing the game, if you notice, when I pick up that boombox, my little character head pops up on the bottom of the ground and like nods his head. Well, I don't know what these functions are on a controller, but on keyboard, if you play around with the numbers, the number keys, I think it's like 5 through 9 or 6 through 0, something like that. You can use those number keys and even combinations of the number keys, and your character's head will pop up at the bottom, and you can make it make different facial expressions. Again, it has nothing to do with the gameplay, but it's just a fun little feature you can mess around with. Alright, so... number 4 is in the books. Now all we have to do is clear out this last extraction point. Oh, I started to mention earlier, I'd be okay with getting like 120k, 10x the extraction quota would be cool. I'm just gonna leave these bags right here, and I'll show you why in a minute. It's a pretty cool tip. Now, I could just clear that extraction point out right now, but I only have like 2 charges left in my bat and 4 left in my frying pan, and I know that once I hit that extraction point, that if I don't get back to the truck super fast, that there are going to be some monsters popping up. So I just want to make sure that I charge up my weapons. And in case I do get in a fight and there are like 3 or 4 monsters around, I don't have to worry about running out of juice in my weapons. I feel like taking the extra like 45 seconds now is a whole lot better than having to start the game all over. You'll see as I go through that doorway, there was a pit on each side of me. Just pointing that out to you guys. Alright, I'm going to position my cart optimally. That way, as soon as I can come out there, I can just grab it and start cart gliding. Now, this is another one of those places, this specific extraction point, this room. Once you have range upgrades, and then even once you get strength upgrades, you can move a lot of stuff like this a whole lot easier than carrying it all the way up and around and across that little thin like bridge. Okay, here we go. We're pretty close to the truck from this last extraction point, so I don't think we'll have any problems getting back to it. I just wanted to charge up my weapons. Better safe than sorry. These are the main points that I think are the most important of what we went over. You guys want to review those? Clown popped up there, but he's really no trouble. We're already in the truck and everything. I am going to cut out from this video the time I spent in the shop at the end here, but I do want to show in the truck all the upgrades that I'm adding before we get into level 7, just so you guys know what we're working with going into that. Thank you guys for checking this out. I hope that you're enjoying it, finding it useful for the new player. I really appreciate it. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, get involved. And I'll have part 4 out pretty soon. Take care, guys.